Welcome to Community Matters. I'm Becky Steinbrunner, your host for the next 2 hours, and I'm honored to be here with you this afternoon. We are here in the studio of Santa Cruz Voice, which is nestled within the Satellite Work and Digital Media Center at 325 Soquel Avenue in Santa Cruz. It is between Ocean Street and the San Lorenzo River, and it is a wonderful place that you should come check out for your next private meeting, a workspace, whatever. It is clean, quiet, very secure, available to rent by the hour, day, week, month, and I just learned that the first Wednesdays of the month are free. You can come and check it out, and there are spaces for small private meetings, and also there is equipment you can check out to create your digital podcast recordings. We share this with community television, another gem in our community. So come check out Satellite Work and Digital Media Space, 325 Soquel Avenue in Santa Cruz. I'm honored to be here today. In the studio is my first hour guest, Mr. Neil Pearlberg. He is a legend in our community. No. Well, I'm going to say you are.
No. Absolutely not. No.
But we happened to run into each other recently at a coffee shop.
Your coffee clutch. And they took me in, by the way. I was there Wednesday. They took me back in.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Well, we're here for the first hour. May I call you Neil?
Of course.
Thank you very much. He is here in the studio with us. We are not going to accept calls this first hour, but please enjoy this wonderful conversation with Neil Pearlberg, a legend in our community.
No.
So tell us your story. Who are you, and what do you like to do?
Oh, who am I? Well, I grew up in Brighton, England, back in way back when, and attended. After all my education was over, I decided the next day to get on a plane and leave England and never go back. And after my parents brought me here when I was 16, I fell in love with it, with the palm trees and the beach boys and the beaches and just the whole California dream. That was, I wanted to be a part of that. And
here in Santa Cruz or California in general?
There was an airline back then called Freddie Lakers Airlines. The guy had like 6 planes, and pretty rickety, but they had a direct flight from London Gatwick Airport to LAX, and you paid once it was first come first serve, and you paid on the plane, like a conductor would come by, cash only, right? And then they drop you off, and I got to LA, but through that airline, it was cheap too. It was $150 flight. It was
wow.
Cheap. And then I started hitchhiking.
Wow.
And I end up in Santa Cruz. I'm keeping a long story short. I end up in Santa Cruz and I love this place. I think a lot of people have that story, the same thing. I think the way I think of Santa Cruz, because we've all seen it grown so much. Mm-hmm. And I think why? I interview a lot of people, and a lot of people live here, or come here, or from all walks of life,
yes.
Right? And it's like I think somewhere up above, if there's a higher power of some kind, they move. She moves each individual to Santa Cruz like chess pieces.
We are a sea of lemmings here, aren't we?
My son was born and raised here. But there are, a lot of people our age are like, well, I grew up in, South Dakota, or I grew up in Minnesota, Wisconsin, or England, or wherever it may be. And somehow you end up in Santa Cruz.
Yeah.
And it has a mishmash of, incredible people.
Yeah.
You have a show. I have a show. And it's very easy to get interesting people on the show, because you're you bump into people at the grocery store. I bump people into surfing, or bump into people just bumping into people. Mm-hmm. And you go, well, I always ask, what do you do? And you go, well, I'm a rocket scientist or something, or I'm a chess master, or whatever. I own 4 restaurants, whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. And you go, oh my goodness, you make a great guest. Would you come on my show?
Yes.
And very few people say no.
Yeah.
I know. I have it in my head who I know people who would say no, and I've already asked them more than once. Mm-hmm. It's like I've got 3 people I know. I'm like, no, there's no point me asking them. They'll never come on. They want no part of being on the air. Mm-hmm. But
it is a wonderful place here, as you say, in many respects. A lot of interesting people, a lot of interesting things going on. We talked a little bit outside about how the downtown character of Santa Cruz is changing.
Disappointing.
It is, isn't it?
It's just, it used to be such a vibrant, fun, it was like an all-day, all-night disco. It kind of, it was vibrant. It was fun to come down. Mm-hmm. It was fun to visit. It was fun to come down and have lunch or spend a couple of hours downtown. Mm-hmm. And it was wonderful back in the Cooper House days.
Cooper House.
God knows what.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of other places. I can't remember the name anymore, but it certainly has changed. For me, it's changed for the worse.
Yeah. I think a lot of people feel that way, Neil. Yeah, it's the Economic Development Department of the City of Santa Cruz really driving a lot of this.
I mean, I know I can go back to my hometown in England, and nothing's changed.
Yeah,
it's the same.
Yeah,
but here, they flick of a switch. I don't know how they got those buildings built, and that's another question. Another question for how they got those high rises
pushed through so quickly.
Mm-hmm. I was telling you before the show where a friend of mine, he got red tagged for an illegal window or something like that, and 2 years later he's still trying to get the permit, which is exorbitant expensive.
Very expensive.
Trying to get the permit in order to get it fixed and get it, get the red tag away from his house.
Just a window.
In the meantime, downtown they built up they built a 6-story high rise in the time that he's trying to get his bathroom window done.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
It is, and we are only seeing the tip of the iceberg now.
Well, you know more about. I don't come down here that much. It's just I don't. You told me about there's another place coming in, another high-rise coming in down the street there.
Well, the two biggest, there's the Clock Tower project, where they're proposing, they said an 18-story building, and then there is the whole city block around Marianne's Ice Cream, between Marianne's Ice Cream and Ocean Street and Water. That's very soon we'll see. I think that's an 8-story solid mass of building. And then the big project that I don't know if it's made its way through the whole environmental review. I think it did. Is the south of Laurel city downtown expansion, right. And that would basically demolish many blocks of homes and buildings down next to the police station going up to Pacific. Yeah. And they want to build
Depot Park where the soccer field is.
Yes. And they want to build a big enclosed stadium event center that would have twice the number of seats as the Civic Auditorium and big hotels, buildings all around it. I don't know what they're thinking. They're not listening to the people, is what I think.
I can't imagine some people from Santa Cruz want that.
Some people do. There is a push by certainly the economic faction of the city. They want the money. They want to have a place on the map, if you will. Yeah. But I think it's short-sighted in terms of tourism because people come here to get away from that.
Yeah.
So, well, we'll have to talk about
where they're getting the water from, where people are going to park their cars.
Oh, there's no parking.
Traffic already is already horrendous.
Yeah.
That's another. There's so many topics you could do with a show, especially your show, Community Matters. Like, how many topics you want to pick from? That are, You know, which is sadly negative.
Some is negative, some is not.
Yeah.
And that's the fun balance, you know.
Yeah.
Soon I'll have a guest on from the county law library.
Yeah.
The county law librarian. Boy, that is a gem of a place, and I'm looking forward to seeing some bright spots.
Yeah.
But speaking of bright spots, what I would like to do, we talked about this a little bit,
Yeah.
and by bright spot I'm meaning the battery fire in Moss Landing. You, on your program, interviewed Senator John Laird recently.
Well, it started before that.
Uh-huh.
My show was basically first started out for many, many years of surfing and skateboarding, because I wanted to record all the surf and skate history in Santa Cruz.
Nice.
And then it got to the point where I would have bands come on the show, because the studio at KSCO where we were at was originally made for bands.
Uh-huh.
The window, the walls are curved, and it's pristine in there as far as sound is concerned.
There is that studio.
So it was an incredible place to have music. I had bands come down. I had a free concert. I didn't have to do anything. They played. I sat down, shut up, and they played. And then after an hour, they were gone. Easy show. And then I started to have politicians come on the show. Thinking, well, let's give them
a forum.
Let's give them a forum where they can speak what they want to say. And we decided that me and my co-host, my best friend Terry Campion, who I did it with, we just remained Switzerland. We were down the middle. Mm-hmm. You come on and say whatever the heck you want, whether you're for the rail or not for the trail, or what for this or this and that and the other.
Yeah,
that's your opinion.
Yeah,
and then with the battery fires thing, nobody was saying much about it, and I mean, I saw the fire. I saw it from afar from pleasure surfing.
Yeah.
The hell's on fire over there?
Yeah.
And then looked into it a little bit, and nobody was really talking about it. So I decided I wanted to get a panel.
Good for you.
A panel of people, experts. I'm not an expert on that whatsoever. I know nothing about it. You know, I know that batteries that came from a car or whatever. I know about that, but that's about as far as I didn't know personally they stored anything there.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't.
Right?
Or that it's the largest storage in the world.
No clue.
No clue here.
Driven by there 1,000 times.
Yeah.
But didn't know. So I decided to have a panel, and I asked my friend Maddie, what's her last name? Adam Chesky. So it's a difficult name. Mm. And she bugged me too, Neil, and she's like, Neil, you gotta talk about this thing. This. I go, no, I don't. I don't want to, because I know nothing about it. She goes, Neil, come on, Neil. Okay. I go, you can be one of the panelists? She goes, sure. And she's a chemist with not San Jose State. It's City College of San Jose, I think it's called. Mm-hmm. And she's a chemistry professor.
Oh.
I go, perfect.
Yeah.
And then I got Justin Cummings, not because he was a supervisor. The reason I got Justin Cummings because he's on the California Coastal Commission, right?
Chairman of it.
And then the third person I got, his name is, he's a way better guest to talk about than I am. I'm gonna have to get you on here, and that would be Toby Corey.
Oh.
Now Toby Corey was Elon Musk's roommate in college.
Oh.
And they no longer speak. They're no longer on speaking terms. By the way, he hates the truck. And he hates... And
they're pretty interesting.
He was president of Tesla for 11 years.
Oh, wow. Wow.
He was very knowledgeable.
Oh.
And then he actually had 10 points. He came to the studio with his placard. Looked like something out of, I don't know, it's Johnny Carson show where he had it hidden. And he goes, Neil, here's the 10 things they need to do to take care of that fire. And he peeled them off, one after. I'll send you the photograph. He peeled them off, one after the other. This, you got to do this. This, you got to do this. 10 things. Yeah, wow. And then people wrote in, as they do on Facebook with my show, or YouTube, whatever, and they were very complimentary, especially of the professor. Maddie.
Yeah, the chemist.
She was exceptionally bright. Exceptional. She knows everything. I was going to have her come down here today.
Oh,
with me.
yeah.
But it's her birthday. She's having a birthday party. I'm like, I better leave her alone. You know what I mean?
Well, we'll invite her on again, and
Yeah,
you too.
you'll have to. I'll have to. I'm gonna get you guests. but people. I have a lot of people who write into the show. A lot of people. That's good. Some good, some bad. Mostly bad.
Really?
Very few people go, "Hey, nice show, good show." People like to be negative.
Oh.
So then, I saw the chatter where's John Laird? He's MIA. Where's John Laird? He's MIA. I go, okay, well, let me call his office and talk. He's been on my show 3 or 4 times.
Uh-huh.
So I called his assistant. Can he come on the show? And sure, he can be there in 2 weeks. I said, sure, fine.
Excellent.
I didn't say, hey, John, where you been? You're MIA. My job is it's not a job. My effort is to get people to the table and hear what they have to say.
Yes.
Like the panel.
Thank you.
I have no business talking about batteries or that kind of, I don't have the knowledge. It's like, I never forget when during the pandemic, when Gail Newell came on my show before the pandemic.
Wow.
And she came on during the pandemic because I did shows from my house.
Uh-huh.
I had a deck which is right above the ocean.
Nice.
Everyone would sit outside. But she received death threats, and you know what's happened.
I
right?
heard.
She got dragged through the coals, right?
Yeah.
But the thing was, I remember her saying, it was like, the COVID did not come with an instruction manual.
Uh-huh.
Right, here's COVID. Okay, well, here's your thing. Here's your instructions how to get yourself well, get better. It didn't come that way. She didn't have the knowledge.
Right.
She had no idea. She goes, I know that,
Yeah, but you gave her a forum to talk.
Gave her a forum, and I gave John Laird the forum.
Yeah.
And as I said to you outside, when I do a show, maybe it's the same for you. When I do a show, I ask a question, or my co-host asks a question. I'm always studying what the next question is, because you want to be a continuance. You want to
keep the flow.
You don't have any dead air and keep the flow going.
Right.
So a lot of John Laird's show, I don't watch the shows till the end or when I go home. In fact, to be honest with you, I don't watch them at all.
I don't listen to mine.
I can't stand my own voice. I can't stand.
I know what you're saying.
God, you're horrible, right? You drank too much, because we do have fun on our show. But,
very good.
But I check and see if the shows are working on my podcast or on YouTube. If they're working, I shut them off. Mm-hmm. But then then came the flack. John got a lot of flack for being flippant, maybe half-hearted. Maybe he just didn't have he doesn't have the knowledge. I believe when he said he was MIA, or people thought he was MIA, I believe he was working on trying to find a solution or the right people to tackle this what was going on in Moss Landing. But in the meantime, they said they didn't. I don't want to be negative on John. I pity any politician.
Yeah.
I don't want that. Their job is.
Yeah. Yeah. When you're a politician, you have to be in the public's eye a lot.
Wow. Yeah, I know. I went to the one that Jimmy Panetta had last week, that forum at Cabrillo.
Oh, I heard about that.
Oh, yeah. They would just yell. At the end, when he was done, like he had to call it off after an hour and a half, people were yelling at him. Why would you want to be yelling? Why are you yelling, across the room, but I don't know.
Wow. Well, I think the thing about, I did not see your interview with John Laird. I heard a lot about it.
I took it down.
I know.
I took it down because I was getting threatening comments on Facebook. Like, if you walk down the street, make sure you look behind you.
Oh dear.
Right, and that's not what my show's about.
No.
My show's about having, I know I took the show on, but any show should be about this. If people are threatening and saying everything was negative, and they were just blasting away. I mean, literally, I would have comments like this, like a book on my phone or on Facebook.
Oh my goodness! And they were all negative.
People were pissed off. Yeah, they were all negative.
They
were all negative. I'm like, and then they were pissed off that I took it down.
Well,
I said, I left it up for 2 weeks. If you haven't seen it by now, people were mad I took it down. I still have it. I just decided to not make it public anymore.
Because you continued to get negative comments?
Yeah.
As long as it was up, you got that. Wow. You showed me when we met up, we happened to meet in the coffee place in Aptos.
Yeah.
You showed me a picture of a flyer, Laird lied.
Yeah.
And I know that there were a number of people that were very angry with, first of all, his absence. And again, that's a matter of showing up and being present and connecting with the people, especially at a time like that. Assembly member Dawn Addis, who was on my program, she's a great guest.
Yeah, she's coming on my show in a couple of weeks.
Excellent. She's a good guest. She was there. She was there with the people, as was the county supervisor in the area for Monterey County, Glenn Church.
Yeah.
And people feel like they're being heard. They feel like they're being supported when they see someone.
Yeah.
And I think that's what most people that I spoke with were most upset with John Laird, is he just seemed to be missing.
Yeah. I'm thinking out loud right now. I'm thinking about giving John a call back. And have him come say, John.
Yeah.
You've got all this negative thing. I was so negative I had to take the damn thing down. Because it was negative on you, it was very negative on me, and I'm like, I don't want to see that.
Right.
Let's have another go.
Let's get back on the horse and try again.
Let's get back on the horse and try again. And you didn't come across well on the last one. So do you want to take another stab at it?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure he got a lot of comment, too. In fact, I know there was a protest outside of the county government building soon after your program.
Right.
And
did a lot of people go?
I got there late.
Yeah.
There were probably about 25, 30 people.
Okay.
And some of them went up to his office. And, I will be honest, I was disappointed at how his analysts treated those of us out in the hallway there. There were probably about 15.
Yeah.
And we were very respectful. The door to his office is always closed. I know that because I'm on the grand jury, and their office is right next door. And his office is always closed. So the people tried to get someone to come out and ended up using a bullhorn. They came out then. And the analyst stood there with a pad of paper and a pen, but wrote absolutely nothing down. And he sort of had a half smirk on his face and just informed the people that you can't record it here because this is technically not a public place. We were sort of in the foyer there.
Yeah.
And so he gave us, people felt like he was trying to shut us down by saying we can't record it. And then just said, well, what do you want to say? And so people started talking with him about how they have been physically injured. Some people have chemical burns. The nickel does that in the heavy metals.
Yeah.
My husband is he's a chemist, and he has a degree in environmental toxicology, and that was the piece of all of this that worries him the most, is the nickel. Because when you breathe it and it gets in your lungs, it's sort of like a burn, and it keeps burning. And people were talking about that happening.
Yeah.
And the young fellow just didn't write anything down. He didn't try to get their names. He didn't do anything. But people very peacefully and calmly explained what was happening. They didn't shout. They were polite.
Yeah.
And I talked about questioning why Senator Laird is not supportive, as I think he's gone on record not supporting Assemblymember Addis's AB 303 about the legislation that would require 3,200-foot setbacks from these battery energy storage places, from schools, hospitals,
Right.
environmental sensitive place. And that number is based on oil and gas refineries and fracking and things. So he's not supportive of it. And I just said, this is a big deal because her legislation will protect us.
Yeah.
Her legislation will bring it back from the California Energy Commission, which right now they can do a workaround and get it approved with that state agency. But her legislation brings it back to the people. And you'll hear that from her when you speak with her on your program.
Yeah.
And I said, why aren't you writing anything down? And he just looked at me and smiled. And he said, what else do you want to say? And I asked him for a card. Yeah. I asked him for a card, and then one of the other assistants came walking up, and he said, would you give them your card? And he said, sure. And so he did, Mr. I think Saragosa. So that was, to me, disappointing, that the people who came wanting to be heard were heard, but with no real evidence that anything would come of it.
Yeah.
So I hope that Senator Laird will come back on your program.
I think it'd be, again, thinking out loud, I think it'd be good if I can get John Laird and Toby Corey,
Yes.
Maddie, and Cummings in the same room at the same time.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
And that's what many of the people, there are some people out in the community, there are a couple groups that have organized. One is called Stop Lithium BESS in Santa Cruz County, BESS meaning Battery Energy Storage System, and another one called Safe Clean Energy for California. So the people are taking things into our own hands. The county supervisors have not had any town hall meetings. They have not kept it on their board
It's in
board
Monterey
agendas.
County, right?
This is Santa Cruz.
Okay.
Santa Cruz. Because it's coming to Santa Cruz County too.
Yeah.
There are those 3 sites that
that's right.
are being
Yeah.
approved. The first one in permitting process now in Watsonville.
Yeah.
And, that plume of smoke, as you saw from your home, I'm sure, did not stay at the county line.
No,
And people in Santa Cruz County have and are being affected, and they want to be heard, but they're not. And that's where I think the anger comes from.
the anger, yeah. That was a lot of anger. That was a lot of anger.
Yeah.
It was worrisome, to be honest with you.
Yeah. But what
Uh,
some people are saying is that to the asking of the Board of Supervisors in Santa Cruz County and Monterey County, let's convene a panel of experts like the people that you convened on your program.
Right.
And let's hear them and what they say and what we should do as a county, as a community, if these sorts of facilities are going to come in. And they will, because of the state's mandate to be, completely energy off fossil fuels by 2045. Our local energy consortium, Central Coast Community Energy, it's known as 3CE, they're moving it forward. They want to be at that place by 2030.
Right.
And they're very eager to have these battery energy storage places around. But our county doesn't have an ordinance about how they should be permitted, what should be required, and therein lies the rub. Because as it is now, the industry is in control.
The industry is? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find that list here, if I can possibly find it on my phone. Of course, I can't see anything. The one of Toby Corey, that he... but let me just give me like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
You keep talking, and I'll keep finding it here.
You're listening to Community Matters. My guest here is Neil Pearlberg. He has his own program called Off the Lip, and he's started off at KSCO, and I don't know where your studio is now.
Santa Cruz Boardroom.
Uh-huh. So you have a great attitude about providing a forum for the community, for different people.
Everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I call it the good, the bad, and the ugly. Yeah.
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 So I think your Toby would be a good one on this panel.
I'd be kind of thinking about, again, is that to get Laird here,
Yeah.
and then have Toby and have Maddie here.
Maddie, the chemist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if Justin will come or not, but
yeah.
Between that Maddie and Toby Corey, that would be, and have John Laird here, that would be that would be all eyes on deck.
Yeah. And there are other people in the community too. You talk about, bumping into people at the grocery store that are amazing. In my circle of experiences, I've met some people wherein there's one fellow, Phil Carranco, who is internationally known for his expertise on regulation policy. He's worked for all of the big, like Amazon, Google, all of those, and he's known throughout the world. He lives in Santa Cruz County. He has offered his help for free to help the county come up with a set of guidelines for these battery energy storage places in our county, so that it isn't New Leaf Energy, who's the owner of this place on Green Valley Road, 19 Minto Road, writing our rules for us.
Right.
We want it to be the best that it can be for everybody. I don't think lithium has a place in it.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Yeah.
No.
But we need a panel of experts like what you're talking about and what people are asking the Board of Supervisors to convene.
There's a lot of people out there. There are a lot of experts out there.
Yeah.
That would find a solution. I mean, you got to find a positive solution.
Exactly.
Rather than just being negative about it and writing negative stuff. Let's use your brain power instead of for negativity. Let's use your brain power to find a solution to take care of, because we're going to have batteries up the yin yang here soon.
Yes, we already do.
Right, I just drove down to Lemoore. You know what Lemoore is, in the middle of nowhere.
Oh,
by
yes.
Visalia.
Yes.
And there's just thousands and thousands and thousands of solar panels.
Yeah.
What are they going to do with them all?
They're building very large of these battery energy storage systems over there. 3CE, the local power consortium, electricity consortium, recently purchased 1/3 interest in a huge facility in Tracy. A lot of it is over in the Central Valley.
Yeah.
But they would like to have it here, too. And the state is telling us all that we have to do this. So, but there are always ways around it. It doesn't have to be at a power substation, which is where all three of the places in Santa Cruz County have been located.
Where were these people when the Monterey County Board of Supervisors approved the battery storage at Moss Landing?
It never got to the Board of Supervisors.
It never got there?
No, it was approved by their Planning Commission. And I know someone who participated actively in that. Her name is Nina Beatty. Now, there is an activist for you to interview.
For you to interview? You're better at it than I am.
She's very
You're
busy.
better than I am.
No. She's very busy. She lives in Pacific Grove, and she cares for her elderly mother. But, boy, she reads these massive reports and makes sense of them and sends comment. She's had her finger on the pulse of that battery energy plant for years. So when the Monterey County Board of Supervisors held their special meeting after the January 16th battery fire, she said she was at the Planning Commission meeting when the Planning Commissioners approved it.
Yes.
They never talked about fire danger. They had a model that was available that was based on one battery catching fire, and they used the model air currents based on the Salinas airport. So it was all pretty questionable, but she said the voices from the green community, the Sierra Club, they were loud. They were, yes, this is wonderful. We'll get to green energy, but at what cost and what risk? And that part was not really discussed. Since the battery fire in Moss Landing, we all know now.
Yeah.
We know. So if there can be a silver lining, that is it. But the poor people who have suffered and continue to suffer need to have some remedy. And I don't know where that's going to come from, because I'm not seeing it talked about too much.
You know, I'll make it clear here today. I'll put that, if people do not comment negatively, and just want to listen to the Laird interview, I'll put it back up there.
Oh, nice.
So if you have a spot, if you have an email you can give out, or for yourself, or I can give it to you, or you can email me at otlradioshow at Gmail, otlradioshow@gmail.com. And if I get enough people to say, hey, can I watch that interview? And I will not, I'll leave my negativity in my back pocket.
Be civil.
Be civil. Because I didn't delete the video. I still have the video, YouTube video. But I did take the podcast down. I took the whole thing down.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah,
I understand. Well, I want to thank you for that, because it's a brave and kind thing to do. And I hope that Senator Laird will come back on and really take care of business, if you will.
Yeah.
Take care of business. Listen to the people. Show the people that he is listening. I mean, he has responded with some new legislation. But I think that gets lost when people's lives, as some I know, have been so turned upside down because every time they go home they get sick.
Yeah.
And I had here's another good guest for you, Neil, is Dr. Ivano Aiello, the professor from Moss Landing Marine Lab, whose team did all of the soil studies right after the fire, but they had the beautiful baseline of 10 years of doing it before. And I had the good fortune of listening to him talk up at UCSC in a student forum, and it was very enlightening. He has been troubled by the EPA not really wanting to sample out in the areas where the plume went. He told the story to the students about how, yes, the EPA was there, but he showed a map on the slide, and it showed where the EPA samples were taken and where his team's samples were taken and the location of the fire. Most of the EPA samples were all taken on the ocean side of the fire. The plume went up and away from the ocean.
Yeah, right.
And he said his team went and talked with the EPA and said, you should come out and take a sample out where we are, out in the slough. And the EPA did. And they found a lot of metals. And they never went back.
A lot of people. There's a lot of people concerned. I got a friend of mine. She runs the Trader Joe's here in Capitola. She's getting all these people come up to her every day going, where's this artichoke from? Or where's this orange from? Or where's this tangerine from?
I'm in that crew.
She's having to tell people, like, well, that's from Asia or whatever. That one's from here. So. Yeah.
I actually asked Trader Joe's to post signs about the origin. There was a piece of legislation to post origin of produce. Yeah. And it never went through. Yeah. But some stores still do it. Every once in a while you'll find one. But I asked them to post, this lettuce is from Arizona or Mexico, just because I didn't want to buy something that I didn't know what was on. And it's the heavy metals, the nickel, cobalt, manganese. Yeah.
So I think if we have these people come on, just be respectful when they do come on.
Absolutely.
Being a senator, it's a crap job. Panetta's job, I've had Panetta on my show, like, it's a horrible job. Or it's political. Be in the political arena, be as small as Capitola or as big as as being a state senator, congressman, when you got the whole state, well, half the state, it's a lousy gig.
Yeah. You don't have a life.
Huh?
You don't have a life other than traveling around.
Right?
But they must know that when they get into the work.
I guess. You know,
I don't know.
You make Capitola. I go, you make how much you make? Really? Yeah.
Well, what are your surfer friends, the community, and what are they saying about the battery fire and things like that? Are they worried?
You know, surfers will surf on the moon if that's where they have to go do it. You know, I think there could be an atomic bomb happening next door. You know, when Fukushima came, remember Fukushima, right? Then here come the tidal wave, and the ocean was going to be polluted.
Yes, radioactive. They still were out there. Yeah.
You know, we're warned by like Rocky that does a surf report or whatever. But, you know, after a heavy rain, the first heaviest rain in the season, don't go surfing.
It's nasty
because all that surface stuff's going to come off the roads, end up in the ocean.
Yeah, yeah.
Surfers will go surfing. I remember one time I was surfing in Capitola, and the guy was measuring the water. He held up he got a little test tube, and I'm looking at. I was next to him, and I'm going. He's like, hey, you know, I wouldn't go surfing today if I were you. It was kind of brown. The ocean was kind of brown in this test tube.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you know what I did? I was surfing.
Have you ever gotten sick after you went surfing? There you go. There you go. Yeah. I wonder, and how about
they're a hardy group.
Well, you have to be to surf out in that cold water.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You wear a wetsuit, though?
Heck yeah, I do.
Yeah.
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 There's in the Santa Cruz City wastewater outfall pipe, there's a leak in the pipe.
Yeah, I know you were telling me about that. You're coming on my show Tuesday, right?
Yes, I'm excited and honored. Thank you. And we can talk about that.
Yeah.
But it's there. It shows up every year when the city does its, they call it required plume dye test. And you see it there, and it's pretty close to shore. I have asked the Regional Water Quality Control Board to make them fix it, and the city always has lots of excuses why they shouldn't, because it's not that much, but it's there, and I really worry about it.
Well, honestly, I don't care, but
maybe they don't know.
They probably don't know because you got Save Our Shores or Save the Waves or a bunch of nonprofits that would be involved. You'll have to let me know where that is on Tuesday.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Thank you. For those of you who have just tuned in, I have the honor here of talking with Mr. Neil Pearlberg here in the studio of Santa Cruz Voice, and he's my guest today on Community Matters.
Thank you for
I
having
really
me.
want to thank you.
Yeah.
We've got about 10 minutes, so...
we're not going to talk about batteries for 10 minutes.
Well, I want to tell you that I am very grateful that you're willing to put that podcast back up with the caveat that people are civil.
Yeah, that's it.
People are civil. Watch
it costs zero to be nice.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I'll put it up. Please read it. Please watch it, and then keep your thoughts to yourself, or write amongst your pals or whatever. But and I can always invite John back, whether he'll come or not, I don't know. Addis is coming on.
That's marvelous.
I'll probably have Mr. Panetta, Congressman Panetta, come on pretty soon.
Mm-hmm. It's nice that they are willing to come on and talk with a public forum, huh? Yeah. The only ones I've ever had decline is Soquel Creek Water District.
Well, we're going to talk about them on Tuesday.
We will.
All right.
We will indeed. But I really want to thank you for
someone
your forum.
in your coffee clutch. Mm-hmm. One of your people in your coffee clutch said that you are a thorn in their side.
Well, yes, that's true. I have heard their board members tell me that.
Because you're like, I'm like, that's going to be a good show.
One of their board members told me that board meetings used to be fun until I started showing up and asking questions. Well, that's okay. Yeah. Somebody needs to do it, definitely in that case especially. But
It's a very powerful group, correct?
You bet it is.
Yeah.
You bet it is. And they really come ill-prepared. It's a rubber stamp on just about anything, never questioning staff. It's the same way I see a lot in government meetings. I go to a lot of different commissions and the County Board of Supervisor meetings. I kind of see it the same way.
Yeah.
And that's a disappointment. If I know that, Justin Cummings, he does come prepared. Of all of them, him and Manu Koenig. Manu Koenig would be a good one.
I think he just was on not long ago.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the new...
Yeah, Manu. What are you doing with... Manu? What are you doing with that bridge that's taking 3 years to fix? Are you kidding me?
Oh.
That's people pissed off.
Is this the Murray Street?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My friend owns Betty Burger. She's pissed because half of her business is gone from
right.
No traffic coming down that road.
Right. Right.
3 years? I don't know why.
That's what I wonder. Why? Why so long?
Anyway.
Well, that's gonna. Did he have an answer?
He said, don't worry. I said to him, my friend was worried about when that bridge was going to be. To start working on it because she has a business that's 200 yards away.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. So he said to me last year that it's going to be put back for a couple of years, 2 or 3 years, and that wasn't true.
Yeah. Yeah.
They started on it this year.
Yeah. Well.
And I'm not going to go yell at Manu, but
no.
Stuff politically changes. I can see it's not a direct line.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I see too. Information is in silos.
Yeah.
And there's not always good communication between it all.
I still love my town.
Yep.
I'm from Brighton, England. I still love my old town, but this is my hometown now. But I'm disappointed in. It's now looking like Manhattan. I'm glad I was able to say something on the air about that. Very disappointing. It's not attractive to come downtown and see, the high rises. Maybe it'll help business downtown. I don't know.
I don't know. Well,
are people in those buildings going to spend money downtown? I don't know.
I don't know. But I know that our mutual friend that owns Betty Burger, she had one downtown, but didn't she close it?
No, she still has it.
Does she?
Yeah.
Well, good. I hope that it's going to do better.
Yeah. She sticks with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that what else do you want to say here? We've got about 7 minutes.
Want to say what else I want to say?
Yeah.
But that's not about the batteries you're talking about, you mean?
Well, I'll just say one more thing about the batteries, because we talked about Manu Koenig, and we talked about elected officials.
Yes.
He was the only one at the Santa Cruz County Board of Supervisor meeting that when they had a report about the battery fire, this was on January 28th, he tried to do something about it. It was only because he insisted that Santa Cruz County did any water and soil testing after the fires for heavy metals. The others didn't want to support that because they were worried what it would cost. The others didn't want to and refused to support him pushing out the date of April 25th.
It shouldn't matter what it costs. It needs to get done.
Isn't that the truth? Yeah. He tried really hard. And I was shocked, as were many others, that he got no support from the other 4 supervisors.
Really?
Yeah. So he's a good one. Yeah. And he tried. But, in all things political, you've got to be careful how you stack your cards.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And not burn any bridges. And I understand that. But I hope that he will continue to be brave and lead our county as we move forward toward getting an expert panel like what you have convened and have some good people to put on it. Yeah. And they're probably eager to participate.
Go. If you listen to this show about the batteries, go back to the Off That Radio show with Toby Corey.
Okay.
And Justin Cummings and Maddie Adamchevsky.
Uh-huh.
I'll put that back on the website, which is offthelipradio.com. It'll be on YouTube.
Okay.
Put it back up.
Thank you.
That one's not down. That one's still up. I'm
That's
sorry. That one's
yeah.
still up. Yeah.
But the one with John
Yeah.
Laird, you'll consider putting back
Yeah.
up if people are civil.
Please be civil. I'll
Yeah.
put it back up. You guys can watch it to your heart's content. If I see one negative comment come towards me as threatening, it's come pulling it down.
Yeah, thank you.
And
Rightfully
one
so.
of my favorite button on my computer is the delete button. See you later. But we can talk about it. You and I can have some cohesion about maybe we can have people
Wonderful.
come down here and meet, or
Yeah.
because a lot of times sometimes the boredom's not available. So maybe we'll see what heads we can get together.
Absolutely.
Maybe I'll email John Laird today and see if he'll come back.
I hope that he will. I hope that he will, because this is something that needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really does. And I think that, maybe it was just a bad day. Sometimes I say things and look back later and think, oh my gosh, what was I thinking?
Right? Yeah.
We all do. We're all human.
Yeah.
So let's give him another chance, huh?
Yeah, I think you should give people a second chance in life.
Yeah.
I had a guest on last Tuesday that people can't give him a second chance on what he said, but it was a racist thing. But it's tough to forgive those who have been racist at some point. Mm-hmm. That one's a tough one to forgive. Forgiveness is very hard to begin with. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But anyway,
I had a guest that one time he was just very angry about the police and always lashing out. And in my interview, I learned that he, as a young man, had seen police during the Vietnam riots beat someone up and kill them.
Right.
And he vowed at that time he would never trust police again. Yeah. So there's always something that's there. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you don't know that. Right. So it's hard to be non-judgmental, but I think it's always good to... when I go down Ocean Street or someplace where there's just a lot of people, you see them sleeping on the streets, and I just try to have this mindset. There are angels among us, and that could be one. I
do want to say one thing before you shut down.
Yes.
I want to thank Rosie, because Rosie does the morning show here.
Yeah.
Right? And Rosie doesn't talk about KSCO, but she worked at KSCO. And she gave me the opportunity to go on to have a show.
Excellent.
She's the one who agreed to it, even though it was funny how she did, but she did. And then
nice.
If I get an opportunity to thank Rosie, I always say thank you to Rosie, because we've had over 1,000 shows, and it's been going on for 12 years.
Wow.
Even though Rosie thought it would go on 3 months, because she goes, Neil, you guys are a bunch of surfers. You for 3 months, we'll give you 3 months, and we know you're gone. And by the way, you need at least 5 or 6 co-hosts. I go, 5 or 6? What are you talking about? She goes, you guys are surfers, skate. You're not going to show up. We need people. I'm like, Rosie. So anyway, she had some ground rules for the surf skate group. But I said, Rosie, if you don't get KSCO stands for Keep Senior Citizens Occupied. So if you don't have an influx of youth in this station,
exactly,
there's not going to be around anybody in 10 years' time. No one's going to be around to listen to it.
Yeah.
But she gave me a chance, and she went with her thing, and
I'll pass that on to her.
Thank you.
I definitely will.
Yeah.
Because you certainly provide a wonderful forum for the community with your shows. It's a lot of work, and I want to thank you.
Thank you. We both work hard to make the show happen. The show's the fun part.
Yeah.
It's the before and after.
Yes. Well, I want to thank you, Neil Pearlberg.
Thank you.
Off the Lip.
Off the Lip. OffTheLipRadio.com.
And how do we find you?
OffTheLipRadio.com, or my email is otlradioshow@gmail.com.
All right.
But Off the Lip, it all comes up, nowadays, right?
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you. See you Tuesday You're going to be in the hot seat.
I'll be in the
other seat. Look forward to our show, which will be on Tuesday evening at 6 o'clock.
All right. Thank you.
You're
I'll
welcome.
be there.
Thank you very much.
All right. We are off the air.
All right.
Thank you.
Ready to connect. Click Connect to show now. You are connected as the host. Welcome, host. You are now in the host room and can manage your callers from the call-in studio web interface. Audio recording is on. Dual channel.
This is Sean Dougherty. I'm calling to talk to Becky about the Moss Landing fire.
Hi, Sean. I've just clicked talk on the screen. I hear you.
Oh, good. Can you hear my screaming toddler in the background?
No, I cannot.
Great. Great.
Now, I'm not sure if we are on the air or not. The board that I see, we should not be on the air yet, but we may be on the air. So why don't we just talk a little bit? We've got, according to the clock, 2 more minutes before we are officially on the air. And I'm not quite sure.
Well, we can talk about my screaming toddler.
We can talk
how
about
difficult childcare is. Oh my goodness, it's impossible as a parent when you have 2 working parents. And I want to say this is actually relevant to the conversation about. Gabe just texted me saying we're on the air.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. One of the reasons why I care so much about the Moss Landing fire is that I do have a kid.
Yeah.
And my wife and I are so concerned about the health impact on him. You know, like when the fire happened, we didn't know, like, what did we do? We pulled him from daycare because we put him in a daycare that has an outdoor playground. And we didn't like the idea of him being outside in that air.
Yeah.
And now, like, we don't want to buy food from that area. You know, like we shop at a local grocery store where they, in many cases, list the farm that produce comes from. And so we try to buy produce that comes from a farm that's fairly far away from Moss Landing. But, I mean, it's just terrifying.
It is.
And so that, to me, this is a deeply personal issue. It's like, to say, like, normally I care mostly about foreign policy and on domestic policy, I tend to care about Medicare for all and I suppose economic issues. But right now, first and foremost for me is this Moss Landing fire. And I'm personally focused on how do we prevent this from happening again. But I know that there are a lot of people where their mind is at is how do we get help? You know, there's a lot of people that suffered a lot of severe health effects from this, and they feel that they're not getting the help that they need. I attended, there was a protest outside. I don't know if protest is the right word, but let's just say a gathering outside of John Laird's office at the Santa Cruz County building, which I attended. And, you know, I mostly attended as an observer, and mostly I heard people talking about how they felt that they weren't getting taken care of specifically in terms of the health effects, like the doctors weren't able to give them answers, for example, on what was going wrong.
Yeah. Sean, can I interrupt you for just a moment?
I'm calling for time, so go ahead.
Let me interrupt you. Oh, Bill just dropped off. There was another programmer on that was giving me some guidance here. So he dropped off, so I think we're okay. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Let me formally introduce you, because we kind of came in not knowing whether or not we were on the air. So let me introduce you to our or have you introduce yourself to your audience. We're on Community Matters here, and I'm the host, Becky Steinbruner. We're going into the second hour, and we'll be able to take calls if you're agreeable to that, Sean.
Oh, definitely.
Okay, very good. So I'm going to hold a little bit on asking callers to call in, unless it's some that I have prearranged before the program. But we'll open it up in a little bit. But for right now, I want to introduce my guest, Sean Dougherty with the Green Party, who's working very hard to make a positive change in our community regarding follow-up of the battery energy storage disaster in Moss Landing and what is coming to Santa Cruz County. So, Sean Dougherty, thank you so much for joining Community Matters here this afternoon. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you so much. Well, I am a member of the Central Committee of the Green Party of Santa Cruz County, and I am running for a second time against Jimmy Panetta in Congressional District 19. I ran in 2024, and now I'm running in 2026. So I suppose right now I'm more focused on the Moss Landing fire than I am on a run against Panetta. So that's mostly, that's all I want to talk about today.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Tell us a little bit about, we were talking a little bit before we knew we were on the air, about why the battery fire has captured your attention so much.
Yeah, well, at the risk of repeating, I don't know how much the audience has heard. The short of it is, I'm a dad. I've got a son who's almost 3 years old. We live off the bay. You know, when we go down to the beach, we can see the Moss Landing towers. My wife and I actually have something of a tradition of going to Moss. There's this place called the Captain's Inn. Like it's like literally like less than a mile from the tower. Yeah, that's
yes.
like. I know it sounds ridiculous, but that's like our anniversary spot. Anyway, I'll say this: our first year anniversary, and this is totally my idea. We rode our bicycles from Santa Cruz City to the Captain's Inn, and then it became a tradition that we kept going there. But,
nice.
Yeah, but it's close enough. You know, Santa Cruz, as the crow flies, is close enough that when that fire was going off, we were really concerned about the health of our son, who's in a daycare, who plays in an outdoor playground. So, you know, that day it was terrifying. We didn't know what to do, and to this day, we still like pay attention to where we're buying food from because we've seen the reports about these soil samples showing the heavy metals and. You know, we don't want to feed our son. I've given up on myself, but my son, I don't want to give my son food that has these heavy metals in it. So that's really why I care about it.
Yeah. And you were part of my previous guest, Mr. Neil Pearlberg, had an interview with Senator John Laird. It didn't go well, and I'm happy to hear that he's going to put that interview back up. And people need to be nice. People need he took it down because of the threats that he received. So I want to
he being Laird, you're saying
he did.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but you're saying Senator Laird received threats?
Well, Senator Laird may have received threats, but Neil himself received threats. So that cannot happen. He's going to put it up again so that people who want to see it can. And for heaven's sakes, just be civil. That's all he's asking. Yeah. And he's going to invite Senator Laird back on his program and put this back to rights so that, you know, we talked about how people were angry because they feel like they're not being heard. And that makes people angry, especially when they've been injured. So I'm sorry to interrupt you for that, but you're doing some very good work, and you were at the protest at the county building at Senator Laird's, outside Senator Laird's office. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, I'll talk a little bit about the protest, but I'd actually like to talk even more about his bill, SB 283. So, yes, I did attend that protest outside of Laird's office, and mostly what I saw was community members talking to an aide of Senator Laird's, and it was what I saw was community members saying they were suffering these health effects that they felt weren't being addressed. They were concerned about all this damage to their local ecosystem, and they didn't have any confidence that it was being addressed. And I think the response from the aide was, let's just say, underwhelming. I know that when we walked away from that, there was nobody who felt that there had been anything productive that had come out of it. Although, I mean, I disagree with that. I think that it probably made a big impact on Laird and his staff having so many community members show up. Like, that was a strong turnout. How many were there? 20 to 30? I don't know. But they're wearing matching T-shirts. You know, like it showed organization. I think it's I would imagine it's terrifying to an elected official to see that many people turning out in this organized fashion. Like, these are the kinds of people that'll launch a door knocking campaign, right? So I believe that actually did have an impact, even if the aid didn't give the immediate impression that it did. But so I do want to talk a bit about SB 283 because I've been doing some research, if I may.
Please.
So first, I just want to say one thing about John Laird before I get into SB 283. I know that Laird is, let's just say, a beloved figure in the community. He is very popular. And when you say anything disparaging about him, there are a number of people that will get really angry. So, and I've experienced that in just the past, 48 hours. So I'm a little surprised that there were threats, but I suppose I'm not completely surprised. But that said, let me say what I've been finding about SB 283 that I don't like.
Did you receive threats, Sean? You received threats?
No.
Okay. Oh, good.
No.
Okay.
No, just hostility.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Hostilities.
I mean, just there are people that are offended if you say anything negative about John Laird.
Okay.
But no, I never felt that I was in danger, not even remotely.
Oh, good.
But the main problem I have with SB 283, that's John Laird's bill that he introduced a couple weeks ago in response to the Moss Landing fire, is that there is some language in that bill that says that new storage facilities, like the one in Moss Landing, cannot be opened unless they've been certified by local authorities to be in compliance with the NFPA 855. And that's a real mouthful, but why I think that's significant is NFPA, National Fire Protection Association, is a non-governmental body, okay? And you can go to nfpa.org and click to About Us and Our Leadership, and you can see who sits on the board of directors. And there are two members of the board of directors that really bother me. One, that I'd say the one that bothers me the most is a person who is an employee of Tesla.
Oh.
Yes, and let's not forget that the Moss Landing battery facility is not just Vistra; it's also Tesla, right?
That's right.
So most of the storage is coming from Vistra Corporation. I think something like 2/3 of the capacity, but another 1/3 comes from a joint venture from PG&E and Tesla, right? So here's John Laird proposing a bill that says this organization, NFPA, that has a Tesla employee at the top of its leadership is going to provide the regulation that dictates whether new facilities can open or not. Like that to me seems extremely appropriate. Yeah. So let me just find some names so people know I'm not
thank
just
you.
Making this up. So we've got Christina Francis, and her title is Senior Staff Fire and Regulatory Specialist for Tesla.
Wow.
Okay. Term expires 2027. And let me just read another name that I find particularly eyebrow-raising. Brigadier General Mohammed Abdullah Al-Nuaimi, Director General of Fire Protection and Safety Affairs, Civil Defense, General Headquarters, Ministry of Interior, United Arab Emirates. So
what?
Yeah, I'm not even kidding. Like, why is a person from another country on the board of directors of a body that is going to be regulating whether we open storage facilities in California? I mean, it's really bizarre, and as I said, inappropriate. So I'm going to give you, I can give you a good faith explanation for why Laird is doing this,
yes,
if I may.
please.
Or do you have
Oh, no, yes,
on?
please. I am all ears.
Okay, so And I feel I just want to make it clear when I just read out that second person's name, I'm not appealing to xenophobia. Like the point, I feel like it may have come off as that way. Like the point that he's from United Arab Emirates. The point is that he's not from the United States.
That's right.
Like it'd be problematic if he was from Canada,
right,
or Germany, right?
Yeah.
Like we want people from California,
Yeah.
if anything.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. So I think a good faith reading of Laird's bill is that he wants to expedite the process of updating our fire codes. Because, and I'm not an expert on, like, I'm just learning about all this stuff since January, right?
Yeah.
As I understand it, our fire codes in California are updated every 3 years.
That's correct.
And so I think what Laird is possibly trying to do here is to allow to eliminate that latency, that 3-year latency of updating the fire codes, and just appeal to whatever the latest standard is coming from the NFPA, the National Fire Protection Association. But in my opinion, it's extremely inappropriate to do that. So the way things currently operate is the NFPA is something available to our state to adopt into its fire codes, but ultimately it's up to our state whether certain parts of the NFPA 855 are adopted, and that to me seems appropriate. That's how it should be.
Yeah.
And if Laird is concerned about these fire codes being behind the times, behind the foremost technology on fire prevention, then he should be legislating a fast path for urgent amendments, in my opinion. So that's kind of where I stand on SB 283. Like, I don't like this bill. I think this is inappropriate, even if it's coming from a good place.
Right. Well, where is the state fire marshal, Chief Berlant? Where is he in all of this?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I have not gotten that far. I'm sorry.
He should be at the table, definitely.
100%. But, I mean, the thing is, like, I think normally the way things currently operate, he would have a role in this.
Yeah.
He would have a role in the process of integrating the NFPA. Sorry, I never spelled this out, but the NFPA 855 code is the National Fire Protection Association's particular code related to, I think, energy storage. And so the state of California takes that into consideration when it updates its own fire codes every 3 years.
Uh-huh.
But then what Laird is proposing is that we just short-circuit that and bring that code in directly. Although if you look in other parts of the bill, he doesn't say that. There's just some particular language in the bill that I think could, I read it as saying that, I mean, I should probably bring up that text, but it seems to say that local authorities will need to see certification of adherence to the NFPA 855. I feel like I'm getting so boring right now, Becky.
No, I am very interested in this because we're talking about the approval process of this and the regulatory process of it. And right now, I'm feeling like the industry, the lithium battery industry, is in the driver's seat, and that's what's bothering me.
Exactly. Well, let me just say another thing related to that. And I think that this is something that your listeners actually can help rectify. So I found on what was it, Cal Matters, Digital Democracy, you can look up campaign donations of elected officials in California. And there you can see that John Laird has taken a $5,000 donation from Vistra in 2024. And then I think he took a $1,500 donation from Vistra in 2022. I'm trying to pull here, I've got it now. Yeah, so Laird took a $5,000 donation from Vistra on May 6, 2024. He took a $1,500 donation from Vistra on October 26, 2020. And then he also took money from Tesla. He took $3,500 from Tesla in November 2021, and $1,500 from Tesla in October 2020. So I personally find the Tesla donations more disturbing than the Vistra donations, because we've got a Tesla employee sitting on the board of directors of the NFPA, which Laird now wants to put directly in control of certification of new storage facilities.
Yeah.
So I think that we need to be writing to Laird's office and say, give back that money. And in case that, this is so crazy, in case that strikes the audience as ridiculous, you can go look up on this calmatters.digitaldemocracy.org. You can see that Dawn Addis took money from Vistra in May 2022, and then she gave it back in November 2022. So there's precedent, which I think really bolsters our case. So we can call John Laird's office and we can say, I want you to give that money back to Vistra, just like Dawn Addis did. I want you to give that money back to Tesla too, so that I can be confident that you don't have a conflict of interest. So, okay, rant over.
Thank you. That is excellent information. That's at calmattersdigitaldemocracy.org. We can find that information.
Yeah. So Becky, I don't know if you can. These URLs are so hard to share over text. It's just really convoluted. Can you share URLs with your listeners in some way?
No, I cannot. But I write for Bratton Online, and I can share it there.
Great. Okay. Well, I'll give it to you that way, so you can share it. But yeah. Well, let me warn your listeners. I don't fully understand this yet, but on the calmatters.digitaldemocracy.org, I wasn't able to put Vistra in the search field. I had to actually do a Google search to find this. It's like some kind of weird spelling issue. So that's why I want to give you the direct URL so that people can see it. Because I was able to find Tesla, but not Vistra. So I don't know what's going on. So I'll send you a URL and you can share it with people, and maybe other people can figure out what stupid thing I'm doing that I can't just type in.
No, you're doing great work, Sean. For those of you who have just tuned in, I'm speaking with Mr. Sean Dougherty of the Green Party, the Central Committee Green Party in Santa Cruz County, and running for the second time against Congressman Jimmy Panetta, and doing great work to research many issues, but focusing right now, because of the battery fire in Moss Landing, on the topic of battery energy storage and public safety. Sean, thank you. Thank you for your good work. What do you want to talk with next? I want to make sure that we have plenty of time to talk about the event that's happening tomorrow at the London Nelson Center.
Okay, let's go ahead and talk about that. Let's at least mention it. Yeah, let's give a plug. So we're going to meet at the London Nelson Community Center in Santa Cruz, city of Santa Cruz, at 3 p.m. And we've got, I think, a really great lineup of guests. I think that hopefully people are going to be familiar with Brian Roeder of Never Again Moss Landing. We've also got Levon Stone, who is another community activist. I'm blanking on the organization name, and I don't have the sheet in front of me, and that's really embarrassing. But she, I'm excited about her joining, because she was actually lobbying against the initial construction of the Moss Landing plant, the Vistra plant. So, she's an OG. She's been on this for years. So, I'm really excited to have her, even if I can't remember her organization's name. It's a really long name. And then we've also got Gabriel Medina. Mm-hmm. It's very exciting. He's a member of the Green Party. He has been, he was elected to the Pajaro Valley Unified School District in this most recent election. Mm-hmm. And he cares very much about this issue. That's why he's going to be a speaker. Then I'll be speaking as well. I think it's clear now that I care about this issue myself. And then we've got Butch Ware, who is the Green Party's gubernatorial candidate. He's an exceptionally compelling speaker, a brilliant guy, professor of history at UC Santa Barbara. And believe it or not, it was actually his idea that we hold an event here in Santa Cruz about this issue. So he's actually the driving force behind this event tomorrow. So I think it's a really great opportunity to attend an event with him tomorrow because he cares about this issue and he's going to take it statewide.
Oh, excellent.
Right. So he's touring the state of California, going to all the counties. Like that's central to his strategy is trying to build up these kind of county captains, and he's going to be taking this message all over. So I think it's a really great opportunity for the community to go attend this session because I'll be the MC, and I'm going to prioritize a Q&A session, like a panel format.
Thank you.
So that members of the community can come ask questions and, share information. So it's a really great opportunity to come talk to Butch Ware, who's going to go propagate the message from the community around Moss Landing to the rest of the state.
Oh, that's excellent. And tell our listeners again where and when it is.
So it's going to be tomorrow, Saturday, at 3 p.m. at the London Nelson Community Center. So that's in Santa Cruz.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And it's free.
Yes, it's free, and there will be refreshments as well.
Oh, that's always nice. Well, thank you. Yeah. I really hope to get there myself, and I'm very much looking forward to it. And thank you for putting on the event. It's a lot of work. It is a lot of work, and I'm grateful to you and all of those working. The tagline that Gabriel Medina has for his talk is, "Batteries are burning, and so are our rights." He sounds like a very dynamic person.
That's why he got elected. That's why he won an election.
It's his area that has the proposed Seahawk Energy battery energy storage facility going in at 90 Minto Road. And I'm hoping that he's going to be also speaking at an event that's being organized by another grassroots group. That's going to be Monday, April 14th at 6:30 p.m. at the Watsonville Church of the Nazarene on Green Valley Road, 710 Green Valley Road, right in the neighborhood of where this facility is supposed to go. But it's the lithium issue that is the problem. We have a caller, but I want to take the caller because it's Mr. Phil Carranco, who is a regulatory policy expert, and he wants to talk. I'd like to give him some time, but I want to make sure that we have time for you, Sean, to talk about your research on alternative battery energy, alternatives to lithium.
Yeah. Let's,
that's huge.
Right, exactly.
Is it all right if we take Phil up for a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Go
ahead. All right. Thank you. Let's see if we've got him here. Hello, Philip. Can you hear me?
Hi, Becky. I can hear you fine. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Thank you.
What would you like to say about the Moss Landing fire? You're here on the air with Sean Dougherty from the Green Party, and he's a mover and shaker in this arena, too.
And that's great. Thank you, Mr. Dougherty, for coming on. You hit a lot of the topics that everybody's been concerned about regarding environmental health for our children in the long term. Because, again, this is something brand new that we haven't seen in the past, and we won't know really what are the effects for long term. So, we don't know. We don't know when we start seeing effects for our children or for even people right now. The one thing that has been still concerning with the Moss Landing fire is just still the non-transparency we're getting from Vistra as well as from our local government. I mean, we still have not received, or I have not seen, and I could be missing something, root cause of the incident. Why did the fire suppression system fail? that was supposed to happen. There's just so many questions that just we need to answer before I think anything else gets built again from anywhere. I mean, we have the one coming up in Watsonville shortly, but they're not addressing the main concerns that people have with respect to the storage facility. And I'm well aware that this is going to be the next generation. This is what's going to happen for energy storage that we're going to see. It's just an evolution in technology that we have, and we need to make sure we are able to, get cleaner energy provided to people, but we need to provide it in a safer manner, and just being able to give people the right information, give them, what can happen, and if there is a fire. Unfortunately, we can't prevent that from ever happening again. It's something that's going to always happen at these type of facilities. What we can really focus on, and that's kind of where I want to help out a little bit more, is this the mitigation plans. Like if a fire does happen, we need to put it out right away, seal it up, close it up real quick, and move forward. It's nothing that we haven't seen in history. We've dealt with different types of energies. Nuclear facilities are still around. We still deal with that. They know that if the core gets hot, something bad can happen. That's the same thing with the battery. They know when you transmit too much energy or you store too much energy, it gets really hot, something bad can happen. That's what happened in Moss Landing. We put stuff into infrastructure that wasn't designed to handle the latest and greatest technology. And I think that's kind of where now people are starting to get involved. But I think what really happened in Moss Landing, I think really opened the eye for our community to have a voice and really understand that they can do stuff about this. Big businesses are not all powerful and can't be stopped. They can. People do have a voice, and people can make a difference. We have the ability to remove county supervisors if we don't like what they're doing in our behalf. We have ways to show, as you mentioned earlier, contributions that can cause conflict of interest. I mean, that's key. That's very big, and you've seen that now even within the election that we just had. So there is a lot that can be done, and I want to thank Becky also for this forum that allows people to hear what's going on and get perspectives, and for yourself as well to be out there and fighting for the rights of people and being as you said earlier, you have a young child, and as a concerned parent, that's where your focus is at, not on attacking Vistra or attacking other countries. You're concerned as a parent, and that's what a lot of people are in this community. We're parents, and we're concerned, and we want to know what we can and can't do.
Well said. The power of the people is great when it is organized and we all link arms together. I firmly believe that too. Sean, do you want to respond to what Phillip had to say?
Sure. I mean, there are a number of things that you said. The thing that I think I want to respond to first is related to what Becky was saying that we should get into a little bit. So is his name Phil? The caller is Phil? Did I get that right?
Yes.
Yeah. So Phil, I think that I do have one major disagreement with you in what you just said, which is that you said that it's inevitable that we're going to move to these lithium-ion battery facilities, and I don't think that's necessarily true. There are a number of alternatives to lithium-ion storage that I think that we need to consider. And while I haven't seen a lot of this discussed in the community, I did see secondhand from Senator John Laird put out a newsletter, and he mentioned that the Monterey County Board of Supervisors had, after the fire, said that we need to look into alternatives. And unfortunately, that's the only thing I've seen locally about exploring alternatives. So I personally started looking into alternatives. I'm by no means qualified to really evaluate these things, but I want to bring these things to people's attention. So one thing that I think, I understand why a lot of people want these lithium battery storage facilities. They see it as the way that we're going to enable renewable energy, right? Like these intermittent energy sources like wind and solar. And the only way that wind and solar are feasible is if we have these storage facilities. Like solar, you only get energy when the sun is out. if the clouds are out or if the sun is down, you don't get energy from solar. So you have to then be coming from these from these storage facilities. But the fact is that right now, there's already storage in the main power grid around the globe that's not battery, not chemical battery. In fact, there's a technology called pumped storage hydropower, which provides anywhere from 85 to 95% of the storage capacity around the world in main power grids. So this is actually the dominant technology, and it's extremely safe. And all it involves is you pump when you have excess electricity. The sun is out, and your solar panels are pumping out tons of electricity. You use that electricity to drive a water pump, and the water pump pushes water up a hill into a reservoir. And then when you need electricity because you're not getting your solar energy, you just let the water run back down through a turbine, and then that produces electricity. And I mean, these pump storage hydro facilities have a huge amount of capacity. The biggest one that I saw has about a 3.6 gigawatt hour capacity, which is almost exactly the same as this Moss Landing facility.
Wow.
So this is a serious technology, and it's been around for years.
Isn't that what happens at the San Luis Reservoir going over 152?
I'm not sure.
I think that's what I have read, is that there's the O'Neill forebay down on the Central Valley side of the reservoir, and they do that. They pump it up, and then it comes, the turbines there.
Well, that wouldn't surprise me. I mean, as I said, this is the dominant technology of storage. So, like, this idea that we have to use these chemical batteries, I think is just not true.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm sure you're right. And actually, a friend of mine who was doing some research on this stuff was saying that only 3% of the reservoirs that we have, the water reservoirs we have, are configured for this pump storage. And you could, like, for any of these, all you do is you make a second reservoir at a lower elevation and then install a water pump, and then it can be a storage facility, energy storage. So I really think there needs to be more conversation about that.
Yeah.
You mind if I talk about some other alternatives?
No, but let me check in with Phillip. Did you have something more you wanted to say, Phillip?
No, that's it. No, I'm like I said, I didn't come out to basically stating that lithium ions are the only way to go. I'm saying that inevitably we're going to move away from our conventional storage. And yes, there are many alternatives out there. It's going to come down to our local governments. It's going to come down to cost.
Yeah.
What companies that want to come in here and deal with the cost, deal with the infrastructure that may need to be put in for these alternative sources. And we need to make sure that we are taking a look at all different options that we have out there available. And if they can put in some type of alternative source in certain areas, and maybe that's when we put in the regulations that when you're in a certain demographic, you're in a certain area near rural, near residential, that you can't use these type of chemical storage facilities. You can only use this alternative source that is non-toxic to the environment and to the people.
Yeah.
That's, I think, like I said, those are multiple options that we have to have. I'm basically saying that the way conventional energy is being stored now is going to change.
Yeah.
What path we take is going to be up to us as a community, up to us to influence legislation, to put really a lot of strict things in place. Follow a lot of European regulations. They deal with that already, and then ensure that the communities are safe. So I think we need to just take a look at what's being done over there and incorporate that and make sure that we, force these, mega companies to not come in our areas if they're not providing us the right safety.
Yeah. And, this kind of harkens back to something Neil Pearlberg said in the previous hour. We need to convene a panel of experts like yourself, the two of you, other people that Neil knows. And the county can make more restrictive guidance than what the state says. You can't make it less restrictive. You can make it more restrictive. So we in Santa Cruz County have the power to convene a technical expert group that will provide guidance for our county's battery energy storage system ordinance, and that's what we need to do. I know, Phillip, you have reached out in your professional capacity to county supervisors. Has any of them responded to you?
No, I mean, there's a brief email back just kind of initially stating that they created an ad hoc committee. Other than that, nothing directly to that. So
they have...
my offer still...
So they've created an ad hoc committee.
I believe that's in Monterey County. I think they had they created an ad hoc of just 2 existing board members on a committee. So it doesn't really do anything because it's the same people that voted for the plan to be made. So, I mean, they're...
and I think I remember I heard them do that at their meeting, and it's Supervisor Church and Supervisor McDaniels, I think it was, who sat on the commission, the planning commission that approved the Vistra plant. So, but what I'm talking about is a panel of experts that would come together for a year and a half, or whatever, to really provide expert guidance, like, Sean, what you're talking about, the alternatives, what you're talking about, Phillip, the regulatory policies, and make it the very best that it can be for Santa Cruz County. It doesn't have to be lithium.
No.
Yeah. Thank you, Phillip. I really appreciate your calling in. Thank you. You're welcome to stay on the line and comment. Sean, I want to go back to you because we want to hear more about other alternative battery storage, because I think that's a positive solution. Always saying no, people will just shut you out because they're determined they're going to make this happen. But if you have an alternate solution that is safe, not safer, but safe and effective, it gives an avenue for negotiations and moving forward. So please, Sean Dougherty from the Green Party, please tell us more about what you have researched and learned.
Yeah, well, but before I do, let me just agree with what the point you were making, that it's really important for us to offer these alternatives.
Yes.
Because right now, I've been doing a lot of talk. I've been doing a lot of emails and phone calls and going to meetings and talking to people from different communities. And right now, I see it as like the climate change activists are at odds with the Never Again activists, and by Never Again I mean Never Again Moss Landing, right? The people that I think your audience knows what I mean. So, and I'm actually starting to. It feels like I'm starting to break through with these climate action activists, in part because I'm offering these alternatives. So I think it's really important to tell the people that prioritize these renewable energy sources. It's important to tell them that we believe in that too. Mm-hmm. We just want to see safer ways of providing the storage. So that said, another really interesting technology is compressed air energy storage. And this is really interesting. I didn't know about this until just like 2 months ago, or actually I should say 2 weeks ago. So the oldest operating compressed air energy storage system is in Germany, and it's been operating since 1978.
Wow. And
it provides 580 megawatt hours of storage capacity. So that's almost double the storage capacity of that building that burned down in Moss Landing. So this is very substantial, right? And so the idea is that when you've got excess electricity, you pump compressed air into a cavern or a mine, and then when you need the energy, you let it back out, and that drives a turbine. So this has a really great track record of safety. These have been running for decades. Actually, apparently that the Germany plant is the oldest compressed air facility. But as I said, it's been running this whole time since 1978 without major incident.
Wow.
The largest deployed compressed air energy storage system is in China, and it has a capacity of 1.5 megawatt hours. 1,500,000 megawatt hours. Sorry,
Wow.
1,500. 1.5 gigawatt hours. Sorry. So this is a very substantial technology with a great safety track record. The downside is that you need to have a cavern or an abandoned mine to pump the air into. So
We
that
have
really
that. We have that in Santa Cruz County.
There you
We
go.
do. We have
Okay,
the caverns. We have the caverns up in the granite, up in Ben Lomond. There's some up on Cave Gulch on Empire Grade Road. There are caverns all up in there.
Let's start a campaign.
I'm sorry I interrupted you, but I'm just.
No.
This is amazing.
That's a great point. I hadn't thought about it practically speaking, but that's actually we should ask the county supervisors to look into that to get somebody to investigate the feasibility of creating a compressed air system in one of these caverns or mines.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea.
We could do a pilot project. We've got to get this technical group together, because otherwise it's going to be the industry that's going to be whispering in their ear, and they'll approve it. Yeah.
I think that's exactly right. I think what I think is happening right now is that the lithium-ion industry, it's got a huge amount of money behind it, in part because, look at how many of our technologies, our devices use lithium-ion batteries, right? Our smartphones, some of the new cars coming out, our watches, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's a huge amount of money behind it, and they're able to give campaign donations to our legislators in order to limit their imagination. And I think that they're also able to limit the imagination of researchers and, et cetera, et cetera. I think it's infected our whole society, so people don't think about these other common sense solutions.
Yeah.
Anyway, over.
Someone sent me information just this morning that the California Energy Commission has allocated $270 million toward non-lithium storage. They're calling it long-range energy storage for demonstration projects and deployment of non-lithium energy storage. $270 million for California Energy Commission. That tells me they're paying some attention to what the people are saying.
Oh, that's great news. I hadn't heard that.
It was from someone named Elizabeth Quinn, who's a great researcher and fully on board with what you're having to say here now, Sean. Go ahead. What are some other alternative storage systems?
So the two I've talked about, compressed air and pumped hydro, these are both technologies that have been around for decades, and they're proven to be reliable and safe. So let me talk about some upcoming technologies. One is sodium-ion batteries. These are kind of like lithium-ion batteries, but less prone to fire. It's worth thinking about at least. They're less prone to fire, but they're less energy dense, which is part of why they're safer. It's more popular in China, in part because China has easier access to sodium than lithium. But that's an example of something where it's safer than lithium-ion. And why aren't we looking into that?
Well, there's a company in the Bay Area called Natron that is all about sodium-ion battery storage. Natron, have you heard of that one?
I haven't.
Yeah, they're in, I want to say Oakland or someplace in the Bay Area, and they are opening up. They've got their office there. They have a plant in Michigan, and they're ready to build. They're ready to build things on an industrial scale. So.
Well, that's great news, because I do think it's a significant improvement on lithium-ion.
Yeah.
So because as I understand it, one of the main appeals of lithium-ion batteries is that it's so easy to build a plant, as opposed like what we were just discussing with compressed air, where you need a mine, an abandoned mine or a cavern, or with the pumped hydro, where you need a reservoir. Those are big projects. Whereas lithium-ion, you just put up a building and put these batteries in it, right? So sodium ion has that same advantage of lithium with a significantly decreased chance of fire.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to hear that there's a local company doing that. But I think a really interesting technology that's really speculative is iron air. I don't know if you've heard of that.
No,
but,
I have not.
So iron air, if it works, and actually pilot plants are being built right now. There's one that's supposed to become operational at the end of this year. It seems to have the benefits of both lithium ion / sodium in that it's really, you can just build it anywhere. Just put up a building and put some material in it and you're good to go. But also the benefit of like compressed air or pumped hydro where there's not this huge fire hazard. And I don't understand the science of it, but it's just some kind of rust or oxidation and deoxidation of iron.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow that stores electricity and can release it. But they're going to make a huge 8.5 gigawatt hour system in Maine. So the government of Maine is working on that. And then there's a 150 megawatt hour plant being built in Minnesota, which is supposed to be operational at the end of this year. So that's really promising. But we don't know how safe it is because they haven't actually built it, right? Theoretically, it's very safe, but we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've basically exhausted my knowledge from a couple weeks of Googling,
Well, it's encouraging to me that to hear that there are other technologies out there, and some are being pursued on pilot scale, on startup industrial scale, because that's what we need. The California Energy Commission has also recently had a workshop called Visioning Lithium Valley, and that's the Salton Sea area. Right now, most of the lithium comes from, I think, the Congo, where there are child labor crews mining the lithium, and other, environmental disasters and human disasters going on. But the California Energy Commission is actively looking at the Salton Sea, and I don't know what that would entail, but it's encouraging to hear, thanks to my friend Elizabeth Quinn, who sent me this information, that the California Energy Commission is willing to pony up $270 million to explore development and deployment of long-range energy storage systems that are non-lithium ion. It's the lithium that is the hazard, as we've seen in Moss Landing. Sean, I want to give you a little more time here to talk about the event tomorrow. Encourage people to come. This is a great event.
Yeah, thank you. So once again, it's tomorrow, Saturday, at 3 p.m. at London Nelson Community Center. We've, I think, got a really exciting lineup of speakers, and I suppose somebody always says that when they have an event, but I mean it.
Yes.
So we've got Levon Stone, who is the executive director of the Fort Ord Environmental Justice Network, and as I said earlier, what I really find compelling about her is that she was an activist pushing against the construction of the Vistra plant in Moss Landing. Then we've got Brian Roeder from, I feel like he's very famous in the Never Again circles, right? He's of the Never Again Moss Landing group. Then we've got Gabriel Medina of the Pajaro Valley Unified School District. He's an elected Green. He is your ally. He does. I really think he makes a compelling case that members of the school board can push effectively for the supervisors, for the county supervisors, to take action. So that's really his perspective on things. So I really think it's a great opportunity for people to attend this event and talk to Gabe. So there's going to be a Q&A session. Of course, I'm sure there's going to be some time after for some one-on-one. So I really encourage people to take advantage of the opportunity to talk to Gabe. Then there's me. I'm going to be speaking as well. I'm running against Panetta. I didn't mention this. I will say one thing about Panetta. This is important, actually. Panetta, and you can find this on opensecrets.org, Panetta is the #1 recipient of campaign donations from the Vistra Corporation in the 2024 election cycle. And astonishing. And I saw someone post to Facebook the other day a video of them talking to Panetta. It must have been when he did a town hall, like a little over a week ago.
Yeah.
Or exactly a week ago. And they asked him, what are you going to do about this? And his answer was, oh, well, he's working on legislation to provide incentives for these companies to build safer plants, which I interpret as he's going to give tax credits to his campaign donors.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's cynical. I think that's literally what he's saying.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we really got to put pressure on this guy.
Yeah.
He thinks he's untouchable because of it's basically because of who his daddy is. He's a Nepo baby. Anyway, and finally, we've got Butch Ware running for governor. And as I said, Butch Ware, it was actually his idea to hold this event in Santa Cruz centered on the Moss Landing fire. So I really think he deserves a lot of credit just for that. And when people do attend, I think they'll find that he's an exceptionally talented speaker and mind. He's a professor of history at UCSB. He is definitely not the caliber of person that you normally see running third party. Like this is a guy who not only is he charismatic, but he's strategic in his thinking. And I think that there's a really good chance that he's going to be able to use his gubernatorial run as a way to push this kind of local issue that we're concerned about into the state consciousness. So I really think, again, as I said with Gabe, I think it's a really good opportunity for people to attend this meeting, ask him some questions, tell him what they're thinking, because there's a really good chance that what you say to him is going to end up being repeated by him throughout the state.
Excellent.
So
we're in our
my
last
spiel.
few moments. Sean Dougherty, thank you for joining us today. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
All right. Take care.
All right, bye.
Bye for now. Well, I don't know.
Okay.
Because it never